All right. So I feel like my topic's not as cool as some of the other topics that I've sat in on, but it's a topic that those of us doing piping, we're doing it all the time. So hopefully it's worthwhile. It's going to be like just above fundamentals level. So for a lot of people who've been using Revit for 4 or 5 years, a lot of this is going to be like, oh, review and, oh, we've already figured this out, or you might even think some of the things I show you are stupid ideas, and that's fine. At the end, I'll try to leave 5 minutes at the end for some questions. If I finish really early, I'll just kind of invite other ideas, and I'll try to demonstrate any ideas you guys have as well, to see if that's helpful for everybody else as well. So here we go. So some of the topics will be covering content, how to work with views, and just modeling piping. I was thinking about covering some analysis tools with piping, but that's a totally separate topic by itself, and I didn't really want to open that door at this time. My name is Nick Boley. I worked for an MEP engineering firm between Baltimore and DC for 12 years. Now I'm working with Imagine for the last year and a half or so, and just go around helping other MEP firms and architects and things like that for the last year. So I started with them last year. So that's my quick background. Okay, so I'm going to start off with fittings and accessories. So the first things with fittings I'm going to do is turn off the annotation scale. You might wonder why I'm going to do that and what the effect is going to be. And I'll kind of show you and explain some things. And how I'm going to do that is by using single line generic annotations inside our fittings. A lot of the topics I'm covering are things that I used while I was working. So for one person here, it's all going to look pretty familiar. But they worked for us, and we were using Revit for 3 or 4 years before I left. So these are actually true production. You might even call some of these things, I'm going to show you workarounds. So, all right, so let's start with the first topic. Let's see if I can get to Revit without messing things up. Oops, messed it up. All right. And there might be some awkward silences while I'm working. All right. So this is generally the way things are going to look out of the box with at least single line. And this first topic is mostly for single line with the annotation scales. And let's see what my settings are set up for. For anybody who doesn't know where the settings are, you go to Manage, MEP Settings, and go to Mechanical Settings, Piping, and I've already turned off the annotation scale. So let's turn it back on and see what things look like. Let's set this to like a 1/16 of an inch. Right, no difference. Okay. So the reason I like my annotation scale to be on is that way, if I have like a long sweep elbow, say a 12-inch chilled water pipe, ideally you would show something that big in double line, but that way you still see the long sweep of the elbow, even if your old drafting standard was still a 90 degree. And that way, if you have, combination tees for sanitary like this, they still show up nicely. They still show up at the true size, as opposed to being blown up. Like this tee here might be not realistic at the moment. But then what happens when you turn off the annotation scale is if you have some valves, out of the box valves. Let's see here, accessory, great. So let's find one out of the box. Again, I'm doing a live demo, which may not have been a good idea. So I only shortcutted that library, but that's okay. Accessories, and let's try a ball valve. Where are my valves? There we go. All right, so let's draw a 2-inch pipe. So my valve is actually made for a 2 to 6 inch, which is another thing we're going to talk about. I don't like the size specific valve types. But let's just drop this on a 2-inch pipe really quick. All right, pipe accessory. Come on. What the heck is that? All right. So the ball valve comes in really, really tiny. So the workaround for turning off annotation skills so you see the fittings at the true size and yet having your valves come in the correct size is to open those up and turn them into generic annotations. So you end up coming in here and go to the top view. This isn't a family creation class, so I'm going to try to be fast as possible. But I end up deleting all of the stuff out of the valve, basically. And I may not do best practices either, just for speed. So while I'm in the valve family, what I'll do is I'll draw a model line in from end to end. Let's try to snap to my reference lines. That'll work good enough. Lock them down, that's good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an annotation family. And we'll just do just a brand new family. You know, that's going to take too long, so let's just jump to one I already have done. And I'll show you that. So here is the generic annotation family. So if you look at the category, it's just the generic annotation. And I just drew the symbology of the valve the way I wanted it. I load this into my other ball valve family. So now you've got a nested family. But the generic annotation is inherently annotative. It is going to scale up or down with the valve size. So when I load this into my project, which apparently I haven't saved yet, now it's an annotative valve family. So you can turn off the scale of your fittings for the sake of having, you know, your half-inch copper elbows still show up like 90s, but your larger pipe still shows up with a radius bend, and you don't have to deal with that kind of problem. So just one recommendation is just by using the generic annotations inside of the valve family. All right, let me jump back to the PowerPoint. So another problem that I've seen a lot is fitting angle. This wasn't as much of an issue on the design side, and where I worked was a design engineering firm, but I've been helping a lot of fabricators, design build contractors, and they're trying to do takeoffs from Revit models. And the problem is that the content on the design side is just generic. And so a pipe elbow could be 90 degrees, 45 degrees, 6 degrees, whatever you want. But it'd be better to have the angle built into the elbow so they can do a proper takeoff. So I'll show you that real fast too. So here I've got a elbow at the family. This is really simple, but it's going to be worth doing, if not for you, but maybe for the contractor down the line. And you may not know that, but the fabricators and contractors, they are going to start using the model for design. So go annotate, angle, and we'll get the angle in here. And you know what, go from that one to that one. Oh, there's already an angle in there. So the problem with the ones out of the box is this is a family parameter. Family parameters don't schedule, so we're going to have to create a shared parameter. So I do shared parameter, select. Let's go to my blank shared parameter file, which is, oops, I don't like to show client information. And let's see here. We'll create a new group called dimensions. And I'm going to create a new parameter. I'm going to call it angle 1. It pains me to do it, but there's already an angle parameter being used, so I wouldn't be able to have that same angle in there. If I was going to spend a little extra time, maybe I'll get rid of the angle that's in there now and then overwrite it with this one. And so let's bring this in. This is going to be an instance value, type versus instance. I could have the same valve type, whether it be 90 degrees, 45 degrees in multiple locations, but each instance might have a different angle. And again, this isn't preferred because in the real world, those are different types of fittings. But on the design side, we just haven't cared. So that's what the problem is. And then the formula is really simple. It equals angle. That just saves me the time of having to remap it to that angle parameter. So if I didn't do that, I would have to delete this and like copy the lookup table information into mine, and it's just too much work. So I added my own, and I just said equals angle. But the reason for that was angle was a family parameter, and I want to schedule it. So now that I've done that, I can load it back into the project. And even though I'm still using a generic elbow, a design build person could actually do quantity takeoffs and say, oh, I've got this You've got so many 90-degree elbows and so many 45-degree elbows of PVC or whatever. So let's do another elbow, and then we'll set up a schedule really fast. This one's gonna be at a 45-degree. I gotta turn that off. All right, view, schedules, and we'll do pipe fittings. I'm not going to filter this to just elbows, but I just want to show you that the parameter comes in. And we will filter to, we'll do family and type. Family and type, and we got size. And the important one that I'm talking about is angle. Hit OK. And then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to sort by family and type, size, angle, and uncheck itemize every instance. So for people who don't know, right now I have a line for every fitting. When I uncheck itemize every instance, all of the ones with these same 3 properties are going to group together. And then let's see if we can find my 45. There's a lot of weird angles in here. So there's my 45-degree angle one, and then the rest of them, they're slope pipes, so I guess their angle's just slightly off. So they're essentially 90-degree elbows. But there's my 45-degree angle, so if a contractor was trying to do takeoffs on how many, PVC or what is this, cast iron hub elbows on a 45-degree, he can do a count. And of course, he'd have to hit the count column. In my case, I only have 1. Let's add another one just for fun. Oops. Seriously? Copy's not working. Let me turn off that analysis. I do not want to check my pipe systems. There we go. Really? All right. So it's a live demo, and this is kind of the thing that happened. So that was how I created the angled fitting. I was trying to make a copy just so you see populated two angles in there, or 2 fittings in there. But I think most people already know that it does that. There we go, I'll do it anyway. So if I'm my schedule, pipe elbows, and still got to group them together. Angle 1. Weird. Okay, I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm not sure why they're not in the same line. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that still checked? Oh. Thank you. Oh. I checked it and unchecked it. I was talking and I forgot to actually do it. So there we go. So all the fittings with the same angles, they're grouped together. I might want to add like another formula to like round these ones that are almost 90 degrees to 90 degrees because that's what they basically are. But that's the general idea. So if you had angles for all your fittings, the next person taking your model, if it's not you, will be able to do takeoffs a little bit more easy. Even if you used generic out-of-the-box stuff, just do this one little swap out, and it'll save somebody else down the line a lot of headache. All right. Accessories and instances. So this is something we've been doing since day 1. The valves in Revit, and this is one of those things that I was afraid people were going to hate when I do. So if I go to this valve that I placed in here, and is this one an actual? Yeah, so this is a type valve, so it has a size per type. So if I were to change the pipe to, say, 3-inch, I can't even change the size right now while the valve's selected. I have to deselect the valve. I have to change the size of the pipe. I'll probably get a warning that there's no room for a transition or something. Okay, put in the transition. Then I have to change the size of the valve, and it's really annoying. So again, you may not agree with what I'm about to say, but it worked for us. So what I would typically do is go in, edit the family, and I do this with pretty much all of the valves and accessories, and I make it a fitting. And again, you might disagree, but it's okay. I turn it into a union, and that's it. And then the other thing I might do is go through and select all the parameters, and this takes time. But you're going to go through all of these size parameters and all these formulas, which I'm not going to do because it'll take me 10 minutes. But you're going to have to click on each one of these, go to modify, change it to an instance, but they're all formulated together. You can't change an instance value that drives a type value. So if you have a type size, you can't have an instance that's going to change that because that one's a type. So again, I'm not going to do this because it's going to take too much time, but you're going to go through each one of these and change them to instance values, but it's going to take time. It's going to give you a message, and I'll show you the message. And it says stem height is being driven by this instance parameter. So then you got to kind of, reverse engineer it, and oh, now I got to go fix stem height and body diameter first, and then I can go fix the one that I just clicked on. Again, that's going to take too much time. But just by making this a fitting and then doing those, I would then be able to change pipe sizes. And this one's not going to work because this is out of the box still, but let me try to load one of mine. As soon as my Revit unfreezes. Oops. There we go. I think I might already have mine loaded even. Let's see, imagine that ball valve. So with the completed valve, if I highlight it, and I've done all the steps I was talking about, and I'm like, oh, this is a 2-inch. Just change it to a 2-inch. You don't have to do the valves separate. And when you get valves, oops, well, that didn't work. So I might just move on from that. But this is an instance value, and it would typically, there's something wrong with my routing preferences, but it would just change with the pipe size. Scott kind of tests that it works, but it works. Then you would be free to change the pipe size, and the valve would just change with it. So these things seem simple, but when you're drawing pipes are kind of tedious enough to draw that this kind of stuff really makes a big difference. All right, let's talk about fixtures. And you know what, let's look at one out of the box. So let's see here, Control Tab. So anybody who's ever taken a Revit fundamental course is probably familiar with this data set. So I'm kind of referring to that. A lot of companies, they make their fixtures look like the architect's fixture. They'll even take the architect's fixture and just copy it, but then you have to add connectors typically and things like that. The problem with replicating theirs is that if there's moves, you don't know it moved unless you're monitoring it. Or if there's moves like 2 inches, you get double vision. My fixtures aren't transparent, which is why it's not going double vision. That's another topic. If you make your fixtures transparent, yours won't get broken by theirs. So right now, as I move this thing out of the way, their fixtures create double vision. You could theoretically turn off their fixture, but then you don't know if they've moved or added a fixture, so you really want it on. So the alternative to that I would propose is that you use something a little more simple, and I'd actually saved making it transparent. So right now my fixture is being broken by their sink. This is just an issue I've encountered, so I thought I'd show it. Go to plumbing fixtures, make it 100% transparent. This is also the trick that fixes if you have an air device next to a light and one of them is getting broken by the other and it shouldn't be. You just set those to be transparent, one or the other or both. And so what that does is it prevents the fixture from breaking the object next to it, or in this case on top of it. So the fixtures I've created, and somehow I created these from day one, like 2008 when I started using Revit, they're very, very simple, and that's what's great about them. This is literally, in 3D, this is the only thing in the fixture. It's a couple of extrusions just for the sake of hosting my connectors. My connectors go straight up in the wall, so they're really conducive for auto routing. And then I have a very simple trap, which shows up in the riser. And then in the floor plan view, it's, just shows whether it's a trap or a tick. And there's a couple little dynamics to it, which are fairly simple, like spacing. So where's like my hot water offset, if I change this to 12-inch, my hot water connector goes a little bit over there. If I want to move my trap more centered into the sink, I can change that dimension as well, which is trap offset from wall. But pretty simple stuff. The great thing about it is you can you can basically have an entire library of fixtures that cover any fixture you ever encounter. Maybe you'll have like 4 or 5 fixture families. So right now I go to people's companies and they have like 50, 60 of them. But with this one, this fixture right here will cover any sink. Doesn't matter the shape. If you're like, oh, I need a different sink type, edit type, duplicate it. Oh, this is going to be a P18. And maybe I'll put like a little description next to it, like kitchen sink. And then, you just fix the designation on it, P-18. But this is just text value updates. You're not finding a new sink on Autodesk Seek, or trying to find one out of the box, which doesn't even schedule in your things. So I'm just changing text, fixture units maybe, click OK. I've got a whole new sink, and that's it. But it's really, really simple. You don't have any of that double vision, and this is just kind of matched our CAD standards, but it works really well. So 4 or 5 fixtures and you'll be pretty much set. Also with this fixture, there was like an instance, a type value. So if this was had an integral trap, you just go down there and uncheck P-trap, and now it's now it just has that tick mark, which indicates that it's like a toilet with a trap built in or something like that. So your 4 fixtures would be one like this, which has a cold and hot water connector. Maybe another one that's designed to be mounted in a wall that only has a cold water connector. And then 2 more for floor mounted fixtures. One with hot and cold, one for just cold. So one for toilets, one for like floor mounted janitor sinks and things like that. All right, sorry, I've got a 2016 issue where every now and then it just spins for 10 seconds. Anybody else have that problem? Just me. All right, let me put it back the way it was. I'll just take this one. All right. What was my next talking point? Batch copy.
So I have a question.
Sure.
So does that family keep the calculations for sizing your baking?
Yes. Yeah, so there's fixture units associated with this. So I had assigned this one to be like 1.5 fixture units. If I click on this cold water pipe and look for the flow, I have 1.5 fixture units. So it installs all the connectors. A lot of people, they're having so many problems with sinks, they're not even placing sinks. What they're doing is they're like modeling to the wall and then like dropping like a drop tag or something like that, or like a generic symbol for a drop. And they're not even connecting sinks because they don't know how to get past all the problems that I was talking about. But yeah, this has all the connectors with the flow and the fixture units on it. Yep.
We probably monitor the architects.
Yeah. So.
And then shut theirs off, and then we still get the error saying that it moved. And so
Yeah, and.
in case it for some reason moves so bad that.
Yeah. So the problem you might encounter with that is you have copy monitor, which tells you if something changed, but if they add a sink, you don't know because it's not on your plan while you're working. You'd have to have like another plan, or you'd have to like actively like every now and then turn on their sinks and physically look for another fixture that they've added. So that's the only problem I have with that. So, but you can use batch copy with this. So if I go to, and that was my next topic, so it's good. Collaborate, copy monitor, select link. Click on the link. I go to, I wonder if I can do it in options. Nope. So I'll go batch copy, specify mapping, go to plumbing fixtures, and I'm going to specify type mapping. So what this allows me to do is look at the architect's sink, and there's this called 30-inch by 21-inch, and you've got their list there. And then I can pick from my sink, and my sinks are very generic. And even if they have like the wrong insertion point or something like that, it's still not a big deal. And you can do this with light fixtures and a lot of different things. But just because yours doesn't look like theirs doesn't mean you still can't take advantage of copy monitor, and you'll still get those warnings, which is helpful too. So just set up this mapping, and then I'll just hit save and close, and then I will do copy. And maybe I'll go slow just in case nobody's ever tried this before. I'm going to check the multiple option. I'll highlight everything. Click the little funnel filter here. Click plumbing fixtures, hit OK. Now this is the thing I hate about this tool. You hit finish, it takes you out of the ribbon, and then you're confused. So you hit this finish, not that finish, and then watch when it's done. It did some weird stuff, and then now I'm not in that ribbon anymore. I got to go back to the copy monitor ribbon and then say, yes, I'm actually finished. And then there's my fixtures. So they're a little bit off, but no big deal. Now I just kind of select all these, zoom in a little bit, and I just got to nudge them down or something. because their insertion point was kind of in the center, and mine's going to be in the wall. So you just kind of move them like that, and those are probably actually going to be a different type of fixture. That's okay. I'll fix it in a minute. So do another window, zoom in, move. But these are still copy monitored. Although I've already generated some warnings possibly.
It's going to give you a warning every time you open those that they're not in the same place?
Let's check that out. Let's see here, collaborate. Yeah, I'm curious now. Coordination review, select link, click the link. Yeah, so it does generate a warning for those. So that didn't work exactly as planned. So at that point, you would either stop monitoring, but what I just told her was not correct at that point then. So that's a good question. All right, so let's hook this thing up. Or let's just fix it so it shows the trap. And let's hit apply so we stay in the box. Okay, that lines up pretty good. All right, I'm gonna come back and hook these up in a minute. And you know what, let me just hit save really quick just so I don't lose everything if it crashes. I'll just overwrite this one. I've seen a lot of presentations go bad, so I don't want mine to do that. Oops, man. All right, so the next topic, so I'm gonna come back and hook those up and I'll show you how easy those are to hook up, especially because the connectors are going straight up in the wall, but we'll do that in a minute. So the other content thing that I was gonna talk about, and again, some of these might seem pretty basic to you, but some people might have not come across this or thought of these ideas yet. Tags are aligned versus not aligned. Design tags, that's just turning on flow and things like that. The riser tags, I'll show you guys, and I think loop arrowheads are new. So aligned versus not aligned, riser tags. Yeah, not the one I want. All right, so what I mean by aligned versus not aligned, and again, this might seem simple to some people. So do tag. Oops, let's do another one. Let's do a free end. Okay, so this tag here is set to align, which is good. Some of the tags, and let's see if I already have one loaded. There we go, this one's aligned. The aligned ones drive me crazy. So I'm coming in here, I'm trying to tag this pipe here, but my tag is set to align, so the tag is rotating with it. Pull it off to the side, and I try to put in this nice flat landing, and then it rotates, and then my landing's messed up. So again, this might seem simple, but some people it might drive crazy. They may not have figured this trick out yet. Open the family up, edit family, and you might want an align tag for placing tags on pipes that are on an angle. So you put your tag in the pipe. So what I typically do is I'll do a save as, and I'll call this tag not aligned. Literally all you have to do is uncheck this box here. That's all you have to do. And then just have both versions of the tags. Again, seems like a simple tip, but these are things that I've come across in the last year that people still don't know. And so I've kind of been keeping track, and that's what we're showing. So it's just that one little checkbox. So it just kind of addresses that problem right there. Pretty simple, but all right, riser tags. I recently had come up with this, and I feel like I've talked about it before, but didn't think of it. So the riser tags that we use, how am I doing on time? Plenty of time. Let's see here. Let's just make a new tag. I'm gonna make a brand new tag. I'll be fast. Riser tag. Oops, I didn't make a family yet. New family. And we'll find the stuff out of the box. I already have this done, but I'm gonna just do it from scratch because I think I'm good on time. And sorry you're seeing me click through everything to find the libraries. Oops. All right, what do I need for this? A generic annotation. Oh, annotations folder. Thank you. You're very helpful. I think I want a generic annotation. So again, this is gonna seem simple, but kill that. So I'm gonna draw this tag really quick. It's not gonna take long. And I'm assuming that most people across the industry have the same tag symbology. It's gonna be a circle with a line through it. Darn Revit. All right. Circle, and I'm just gonna kind of do this quick line, create label, drop this little thing in here. Type text, we get type value. So I'm going to make these labels a type value. A lot of people would do this as instance values. Oops, my circle needs to be a lot smaller. So a lot of companies, so what I'm talking about here are like riser tags. So if you have like a stack, vent sanitary stack going up through multiple floors, this is just the tag that goes with it. Just, you know, coordinates with your riser diagrams and things like this. But the difference I'm doing, which is different than what I used to do, is that I'm going to make this a type value. So each tag with a different number is going to be a different type of tag. And that's going to seem tedious, but the benefit is going to be that if somebody changes the designations, doesn't matter if it's a 2-story building or a 20-story building, you change it on one floor, it changes everywhere that you've dropped that same tag type, which is the purpose of it. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it into a type catalog. So that way if you have 100 tags, you don't have to sit there, right click, new type, new type, new type, and then making new ones. So I've created this here. Did I link these to shared parameters? I don't know if I have to. No, it's good. So I have one type, that's not even anything. Okay, so let's save this to my desktop. So if I load this into the project, just to show you how it works without having the type catalog. You know, I'd go somewhere wherever the sanitary stack's coming up, drop it in there, click, S for sanitary, and it's okay, and then sanitary 1. But you need a different type for each designation, which is the tedious thing. So if I needed a sanitary 2, I'd have to go click, edit type, duplicate, sanitary, that works pretty good actually. 2, then I'd have a new type to place. But that's too much work. So I'm going to go back to that family, and we're going to use a type catalog. Those plumbing fixtures I was using actually would be pretty conducive for a type catalog as well, because they're so simple, it's just pushing a little bit of text. To create a type catalog, just to give you the 2-minute family creation class on type catalogs, this is probably the simplest type catalog you could ever make. Go up here to the application pull down, go to export, and yes. Yep. So let me do that one more time just because I was not sure that was the button I wanted to click. I click on the family types as the export, and this is how you start a type catalog. I did not know how to do this before a couple months ago. I was making my type catalogs from scratch. I was like, oh, I'll put commas in between, and I was rewriting the parameters. I didn't know you can start by just exporting from your family. It saves me a headache, or saves me from a headache. So that created a text file, put it on my desktop. It is named the same thing as the family. So if you're new to type catalogs, let me sort by name here. So riser label, they're named the same, they're in the same location. When I load this family, it's going to look for this text file automatically. Now to edit this, I prefer to open it with Excel. And I was hoping it would ask me to be comma delimited. Let me, somebody might be able to give me a tip on this too if I mess it up. All right. So riser label, I'm going to put riser label 1. And then I'm going to have S, and then 1, and yep, that's good. And then literally what I can do in Excel is just drag this down. And it's going to create all my types for me. Oops, didn't really do so well on that one. I don't think I need those double commas either. Let's try that one again. Again, hopefully I don't mess this up. There we go. So literally what I've just done is I've made 20 riser label types. So I didn't have to create them manually. I can make 100 of them or 300 of them. It doesn't matter. It's that fast and simple. I'll save it back to my desktop. And there we go. Let's save over top of the original one. Where the heck is it? Oh yeah, I renamed it. All right, riser label. Hopefully that works. I'm not confident, but it took me a couple tries to get that. All right, so now that I've created that type, if I go back into my project and load that, and let's just get rid of this thing and purge it out. Let's not purge everything. Let's just load it again. All right, so I'll drag this in, riser label, drag it in, and oops, let's just do insert, load family, riser label, open. They were needed. I thought I took them out, but maybe they needed to stay. All right, so I'm gonna do the one that I have already prepared. I know that's cheating, but all right, so let's go RTCNA, and I'll show you the one I have just so we can maybe figure out what the issue was without killing a lot of time. All right, pipe plumbing riser label. Hit OK. I did that, yeah, that's fine. All right, now I'm really having troubles. Oh, oops. Looks like I never renamed my my file. All right, matches exactly, good. Let's try that one more time, and then I might move on. Thank goodness. Okay, so this is what happens when you have a type catalog. So I can decide how many risers designations do I need. I can load in 10, 20. In this case, I've actually got 100 of each. I've got 100 for storm, 100 for vent, and 100 for sanitary. I could load all 300 of them. It's not really necessary. So maybe I'll just load 31 of them. Hit OK. And now I've got all of those to choose from. So if I go down and find that in the browser, plumbing riser tag, oops. There it is, right there. And then there's the 31 that I just loaded. So then I can just go right click, create instance, drop it here. And if this was a riser that went through multiple floors, I could do copy. Let's do copy to clipboard, paste, align to selected levels or selected views, or I can just go copy and then go to the second floor and paste it. Second floor. And we'll do paste the same place. So if somebody came back and said, oh, that's riser 19A, just put an A next to it, and it fixes on all the floors, basically. Also, if you're able to get ISO risers in Revit, you can use those same labels, and if they change in one place, they change everywhere. It's not really as intelligent as other things in Revit, but it works. It's still a dummy tag. It's just still saving me from a lot of manual effort when somebody decides to change the numbering system. So might seem simple, but if it comes up later, you're gonna be grateful. So if I go back to the first floor just to verify, that says 19A as well. So if that was a 100-story building, you've updated 100 tags. Simple concept, but just kind of hopefully a creative use of a simple idea. Oh, and the loop arrowheads, that's just mentioning it. I don't believe that these lassos were available before, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, okay. I just realized that like a couple months ago, because I always hated the circles because they look like pipe ups and downs. So if you use the old labels, which is the open dot, to me, I don't like them because they look like pipe ups. So maybe if you've been using it since 2008 and didn't realize that was a new label type or arrowhead type, maybe consider doing the loops because they don't look like pipe ups. Again, simple topic, but these are just things that I've been coming across in the field and thought I'd share just in case other people hadn't really come across them yet. All right. That's all for that one. I already talked about that. Yeah, let's do that. I feel like things are a little out of order. So two things. Piping under the floor slab. You'll see my pipes are dashed. I spent a lot of time trying to get that in like 2008, 2009. And apparently the solution was in front of me the whole time. So basically this pipe is dashed because it's under the slab and it's doing it automatically, not using any filter. So if I click on the same pipe and I say, you know, this is 1 foot above the floor, it goes solid. It's not a filter. It's so simple. It's, you know, stupid. Go to line styles, find the beyond line style and set it to dashed. That's all it is. It automatically uses the beyond line style when you put it below something else. So if I were to set this to center, which isn't really what I would want, or no, let's do something different. Double dash, just because it'll be different.
Only thing is, I think the beyond only works when it's between the bottom and the view depth.
Yes, that's correct. So what he was saying is, in view ranges, there's the cut plane, the view depth, and the bottom. Typically, with the exception of showing under slab piping, the bottom and view depth are often at the same place. But if you're trying to show piping below the slab, you leave the bottom where it is, and the bottom is like the architectural camera. That's how far the architectural camera can see. Then the view depth is how far the MEP camera can see. That's usually how I explain it to people. So cut plane is where the architectural camera is placed, looking down. It only sees to the bottom. The MEP camera is at the top of your view when your view discipline is set to mechanical, and then that sees down to the view depth. Yeah, and that's just the best way I find to explain it. That's probably not how they would technically explain it, but yeah. All right, so let's change that back. But that was just the beyond line style I changed there. So that was under manage, line styles, find beyond, and we'll set it to a normal dash. And now it's fixed. Oops, I messed something up. Oh, did I? Okay. But that's all it is. I spent a lot of time. I probably spent like a couple of days trying to create a filter for things that were in a negative elevation, negative offset from the floor I was working on, and that's all it was. All right, so this last tip here, well, not last tip, but the last tip on this slide is when we first started using Revit in the CAD days, we would be working on the second floor plan. We're hooking up all these sinks and toilets. In the CAD days, we wanted to see the sanitary serving those fixtures. When Revit came along, we couldn't do that anymore. I'm actually glad I didn't know about this tip when I was doing production, because I don't really want to do it. But if you insist on maintaining that standard, this is how you can do it. And this is a credit to the Augie publication that came out in February. I didn't make this up myself. I read it in the Augie catalog, and that's where it came from. So just to show you that briefly. So if I'm on the second floor, and do I already have this set up? No. Oh yeah, looks like I do. That's fine. All right, so I'm on the second floor, and I'm actually seeing the sanitary in the floor below, but I will not be seeing the domestic water. And the reason being is that when I draw these pipes, I am putting them on a couple different work sets. So you would put, so if you're working on, say, a 10-story building, I'm trying to think how to explain this better. What you're going to want to do is take all of the piping on, say, the first floor, third floor, whatever, and you put it on the odd work set. And again, I'm glad I never had to do this, but if you're insisting on doing this, this is how you can do it. You put it on an odd work set, and if it's in an even floor plan, such as this sanitary here, and this vent even, you put that on an even work set. If it's a riser that goes to the floor, you put that on the common work set. So then what you have to do, and again, I'm not saying this is great, but if you're insisting on doing this old CAD standard, this is how you can do it. But you're going to come in, go to VV, find the odd work set in this case, and set it to not visible. So if I'm on an even floor, being second floor, fourth floor, you turn off the odd work set. Common is still on, even is still on. If you're on an odd floor, you turn off the even work set. I didn't come up with it. I thought it was a cool, creative idea. I'm glad I didn't have to do it, because I think that's too much work with work sets, and it's kind of too prone to be like, why isn't my pipe showing up, which is already a big enough problem. But again, just if you're insisting on doing that, this is how you can do it. So.
I do that same thing with filters in like a description field or something.
Yeah, you can do that too. Yeah, so he's saying like if you had clicked on a pipe, for example, you maybe could just go into like comments for the pipe and just say odd, And you can select all the pipes in the floor and do them all at once. And then you can set up a filter to turn them on or off, and that works too. So, yep, either way. But again, I'm glad I don't have to do it, because that's
That's not to show it how?
that's to show the sanitary in the first floor ceiling, but not the vent domestic water in the first floor ceiling. So I have vent and domestic water turned on in this plan, but my cut plane is going through into the first floor ceiling, and there's all those other pipes in the first floor that I don't want to see on the second floor, because they're not serving any of the second floor fixtures. So we have all those other pipes on the odd work set, and we have them off. So that allows us to show the piping in the floor below, but that's alongside a lot of other piping I don't want to see. So it allows us to turn that pipe on that's in the floor below serving our fixtures and turning off everything else. And again, it's too much work for me. I'm glad I don't have to do it, but it's a neat idea. But that's going to require some user training and good management of work sets. Man, I'd like to hook up my fixtures. I feel like this is in the wrong order. Riser diagrams. This has been a sensitive topic for a long time. Can't do them, can do them. I used to do a lot of healthcare work. Never got them to work well when I worked there before. Because we did multi-story buildings, you can never get one view that had everything. So what I suggest, if you want to try, is go to your ISO view. And I sort of already have this set up, so maybe I'll just jump to that one. All right. And so what I'm doing here is basically isolating what parts of the building I'm showing. And I need to turn on my 3D section box. Does everybody know about 3D section box? No? Okay. So 3D section box, there's a lot of cool things with 3D section boxes. Although for some reason mine's off. There it is. So 3D section box allows you to isolate parts of the building in a 3D view. So what I might suggest, and I'm not saying this will be easy. I'm not going to be one of those people that pretends that they work that well. But that allows you to isolate part of a building, and then, you know, if you have to unlock the view and you're trying to like get that view looking the way you want, it allows you to do that, but you don't have all the other floors. So if I was doing that, this is the second floor, but if I rotated it like that, I'd probably be catching the first floor in another wing in that same area. So what I'm doing is I'm isolating it. And then I might duplicate that view and then cut that up for, say, the northeast wing or the first floor. And then from there, I would go into a sheet. And again, this is just a lot of work around, so don't be too critical on me. You can start assembling these on a sheet. That's an 8.5 by 11 sheet, so that's not going to look too good. And say, just pretend this was like another wing. Kind of start putting them together, turn off the section boxes, and then make your connections. You can either like do like almost like a match line designation, or just go ahead and connect it with like model lines or something, detail lines, and then, you know, just kind of fake the connection in between. So like I said, you can either do like match line designations where it's like AA matches up with AA on another plan. Man, my you're talking about the annotative symbols because they are view specific. That's a good question that I don't want to answer. You'd almost have to take that single line geometry and create it out of model lines, and then have that generally off by default. But yeah, so this doesn't look too good, but that's how you can do that. You said something about assemblies. Yes, I had not thought of that. So if you create an assembly, and we'll create a small assembly. Has anybody ever worked with assemblies? No? Yeah? Okay, a couple people. My experience with assemblies, I was trying to use them for like typical plumbing layouts. I also tried like creating spool sheets for fabrication in Revit with assemblies. But yeah, he had the good idea. If you select a selection of pipes, maybe all these pipes, I'll just into this area just so it looks different. And then there's a button here, create assemblies. And maybe we'll call this Northwest Sanitary Riser Area. And, oops, I didn't mean to change the category name. Northwest Sanitary Riser Area. Hit OK. So what an assembly does when you create it if you go down, I think it's pretty close to the bottom of the browser list, it created this little group here. You right click on the group and you can create assembly views. This is probably a new tool for a lot of people, but I'm glad you brought it up. I can create plan views of this, 3D orthographics and things like that. I can even create schedules, although I'll often just create schedules for these assemblies and then filter them based on assembly name. But you can create a 3D view out of it here, hit OK. That's the only view I was creating out of it in this case. And then there's my 3D orthographic out of it pretty quick. So that's a good alternative. Yeah. No, but you do want to be careful and let people know what it is. Because if somebody goes to click on that pipe, like if you're still pretty early in the design phase and somebody clicks on the pipe, like, oh, it's a group and I got to explode it. Well, you're not really going to explode it, but you want to make sure that they don't explode it basically, because then that'll kill everything. Because yeah, if I click on that, it's all locked together. Somebody's not going to know what to do. Ideally, if they were modifying those pipes, they would hit edit assembly. But what's probably going to happen is someone's not going to care and they'll hit disassemble, and then you lose all your stuff that you had set up. So just be conscious of that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's still connected properly, which is why I like them. So if I was using typical bathroom layouts, I can usually like take an assembly to like a valve and then stop, and I can still connect to that valve and keep going. Contrary to a group, which wouldn't let you do that. So assemblies, they've got some flexibility, and they're probably pretty highly underutilized. Probably. Yeah, the category is not even there anymore at the bottom. So that's exactly what I was saying. You want to be careful of. If somebody hits disassemble, you've lost that view. All the views, if there are sheets and schedules based on that, you've lost them. So it's something to do toward the end of the project, maybe if you're using assemblies, and just train your users, hey, it's an assembly. If you got to make a minor change, edit the assembly, don't disassemble it. Yeah. I don't think you can assemble through a link. So if you had like piping in a link model, you couldn't really like create an assembly through a link. No, it won't let you click anything through the link for that. Yeah, it's really an assembly of objects in your model. Yeah.
We've been showing the coin risers actually in fine detail.
Okay.
Showing it 3D so then the valves show up nicely.
Yeah.
And also showing the architectural labs with walls that are transparent.
Okay.
Well. So this gives it more detail and keep the floors on there.
Yeah. So in that case, I might fix my fixtures up a little bit in that case, but you can still do that and use something like that. You can even model this as like a double line trap even if you wanted to. Mine's just single line because that's what I used to do, but you could actually create like a 3D trap, and you could probably use one out of the box. What's that? Yeah. Oh yeah, I could do that too. Yeah, turn on the architectural sync and that's fine too. It depends on what your company standards are really. This was just our standards where I used to work right here. Just it was simple and clean, but everybody has preferences and workflows. So
I set the architectural weight to underlay in the VG.
Okay.
And that turns all the fixtures transparent.
Okay.
So is that transparency going to affect performance?
No. It just depends on if there's something else that you did want to break because of the architectural background. I'm not sure what that might. I think I'm okay on time, so let's try it. I'm a little worried if that would affect our beyond lines, because beyond lines are naturally broken because they're being hidden by something. So that might have an impact on beyond lines. So you might have to choose one or the other. At least in that view, that's view specific. So let's see. You might be right about that too. All right. Yeah, I think you're right. All right, so VV, Revit links. And I don't use VV much, by the way, in real life. It's really just more conducive for sample. Okay, so that worked. Yeah, that's a great idea. I like it. And it's view specific, so if you had a case where it's like, oh, in this view, I do want it to break stuff, not just sanitary bullet piping, which wasn't affected at all, but if there were other things, then yeah. 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 Are you talking about showing things above the ceiling in an RCP plan?
They don't like to see it exactly what he did by the lights or the diffusers. So the same things that they don't know that was out there.
Yeah. So there's a cool thing in 2015, not for us, but I'll show you just so maybe you can like put it on a wish list if they ever come out. Sorry, I'm having trouble switching views. I keep getting confused. And for the architects, they have the option now to set the underlay. Oops. I don't think I'm using a view template here. View template's none. Shoot. Usually this is not grayed out, but you can set your underlay orientation to reflect the ceiling plan and underlay the ceiling on a floor plan view. And it's because the grid is in the model. It doesn't work for us because the grid is linked in, and that's the limitation, but I would suggest submitting that as a wish list topic to show reflected ceiling plan, the grids in a floor plan view. So architects have it now, we don't. Yeah, and for sprinkler, you know, you could copy monitor the grids, but that's just not really what you want to do. So, but yeah, it's if there are any architects in here, it's right there. You just set it to reflect the ceiling plan and underlay to your own floor. Mine's grayed out. I don't know why, but that's cool. All right, so let's move on. I think I'm still good on time. So, oops. Oh yeah, with the risers, it doesn't really break a pipe behind another pipe. So just a little disclaimer there. So if you have two pipes crossing in those ISO risers, it doesn't break them. Yeah, so either don't use them or you'd have to get over that limitation as well. Again, I'm just showing you. No, I'll go back to it and show you too. Just to... All right, let's check it. Where the heck am I? Oops. Where's my riser? So this is at medium detail level single line, and at fine detail level, they're broken, just not with gaps. The gaps is kind of what I was talking about. So I put the TL. Now let's turn the shading off just so it looks more like what we'd actually do. So yeah, so it doesn't break with gaps, I guess is what I meant to say. Yeah. But a double line riser might look better in this case with that limitation, because it does actually break the pipe, just not with the gaps. Although some risers, you might be so far out of the pipe, might be so small, it looks like a single line anyway, but yeah. All right. Now we get to actually route stuff. Yeah. And this is where my plumbing fixtures really shine. And let's close that. Come on. All right. And on the first floor, so I placed all these fixtures up here earlier. And I see a lot of out-of-the-box fixtures where the, oops, let me turn off the, that's good, where the connectors for the fixtures is like on the bottom of the sink, so you have to go like down to the wall, up, and that's really too much work. Even if you're trying to model it more detailed in real life, they're not hard piping that anyway. They're going to, you know, like a little valve and then using like a braided line. So I just go straight down the wall and then stop right at the fixture. And that's really conducive for auto routing. A lot of people are really skeptical about auto routing. It's fantastic for slope piping. So if I click on a fixture, for anybody who's never tried this, make a piping system, choose your system. You can name it if you want. So if I was gonna like go to like riser 5 or something like that, maybe I'll call it sanitary 5. Open the system editor, hit OK. And now I'm just gonna add to the system, click, click, click. And yeah, it takes a couple seconds, but I'm gonna do all these connections very, very quickly. And if I did it manually, it might take me several minutes for each one. And now I'll create maybe my vent system or domestic water. And we'll do domestic water, I guess. And I forgot to hit edit system, add to the system, click, click. I'm not gonna do all the connections just for time. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, thanks. Yeah, window select worked, which makes it less tedious. Let's do another one. Let's do vent this time. Yeah, so he suggested do a window selection. Simple enough idea, I just hadn't thought of it, at least not today. There, that's fast. All right, so now I want to do my connections. I want to model my sanitary. Click on Generate Layout, click on Sanitary, hit OK. Wait for it. Pick my slope. This is one of the 10-second spins that Revit's doing to me lately. Pick my slope. One thing you want to do is go into the settings. So I am modeling sanitary that's in the floor below. This will not work if you don't go into settings. And so I'm going to pick my pipe type, and I set the elevation to -1. Oftentimes, by default, it's probably like 9 feet or 10 feet or 8 feet or something like that. If you're trying to model something in the floor below the floor you're working on, you have to set it to negative. This is automatically going to associate the sanitary to the floor below. If this was 8 feet, it would probably just give me errors, or it would like try to come up to the floor that I'm in. So I hit OK. We'll check out the solutions. Why can't I see my solutions? I think I've got a graphics problem going on here. I'm going to place my base too. Place base tells it what direction it's going. And let's check our solutions out again. All right. I don't know why I'm not getting my solutions. I think I have a graphics issue going on. So usually it shows you the solution options. I don't think so. I usually see it. Let's see what happens. They're not even like placeholders yet at that point. It might still work anyway. Let's cut a section and see. Let's just look at the underside of the building and see. Okay, something weird's going on. I wonder if my pipes are turned off or something. Yes. Yes, you're right. Good grief. All right, let's kill that work sets idea. So this is what I'm talking about, why I'm glad I wouldn't have to do the work sets idea, because it would mess me up too much. Why aren't my pipes showing up? That's exactly what I was saying earlier. There they are. And it looks like I drilled them twice. Didn't mean to do that. But that connected all my pipes for me, went back to my placeholder. And so maybe that just like stops right before main, or maybe I'll take it back to the connection back there. But it drew it in, sloped it, did the connection for me automatically. If I could have seen my routing options, I could have, modified them a little bit. Yeah, the whole work set thing is killing me now. Let's stop the not visible in all views. There it is. And there's my pipe sloped, connected, and everything. I want to talk more about slope piping, but maybe not yet. So let's do another one without it going all weird on me because of the work sets issue. So I'll do hot water this time. Let's turn off the slope, go into settings. Where do I want my hot water to go? Well, I want it to be a copper pipe. And maybe I'll put the hot water at 9, let's do 8'6". And then the branch, actually the branch I want to be at 8 feet 6. Domestic copper, and the main is at 9 feet. So what this is going to do is it's going to draw the branch coming from the sink at 8'6", and it's going to bottom tap and under the main's going to be at 9 feet. So you really got to use those settings in order to get it work properly. I never really used them in production just because I didn't really know how to use them that well. Now I can tab through my options. Really the first one looked best, and I like it there, but I don't want it to be in the center of the corridor, so I'll just click on one of them, move it off to the side. That's not going to work. I'll move it after the fact then. It didn't move all the branches with it. And now my hot water is connected and I can slide it off to the side of the hallway. So pretty fast if you can create your systems. I forgot to place my base, so it really doesn't know what direction the flow is going. That might affect my sizing as well. But but it does work and it really allows fast connections, and especially slope piping. Slope piping it's a little bit painful if you don't know how to do it well, and we'll talk about that in a minute too. Okay, I only have 10 minutes left, so I'm gonna speed up a little bit. Oops, wrong slide. Okay, so if you're doing slope piping, there's a couple tricks. Some might seem basic, some might not be. So I've got this pipe here, and let's just make a copy of this fixture off to the side. You can use connect into. So if you don't like auto routing because you don't like the routing it's giving you, use connect into. That's the second fastest way of connecting piping. Use that, click on your main, it draws it in there. You're gonna have to go back, click on it again, and then change the slope if you're sloping. And it's not giving me my slope options. Yeah, might be something with connecting to the projector. So when I hit change slope, it's supposed to allow me to change the slope, but usually it lets me do it after the fact. Oh, there it is, right there, the slope button. That's what I was missing. And then I change it to 1/8 of an inch, and now it's sloped down to the main. Alternatively, if you're connecting your sinks, the old CAD way of doing it, at least for me, I would draw a main, and then I would go from my sink to the main. That doesn't really work as well with Revit with slope piping. So what you want to do is start at your main, use inherit elevation, slope up, 1/8 inch to a foot, and that's going to come right off the side of the main, and then you can go toward your sink, and when you're going toward your sink, it snaps to your sink. In the CAD days, it didn't really have that, the snap extensions, people didn't really use them, so they would start at the sink just because they knew where they were coming from. But this works a lot better because it starts at the right elevation to connect to your main at the side. So another thing that came up recently, another good trick for connecting, is that you're not always coming into the side of the tap. In real life, the plumber is going to kind of come close to the pipe, then he's going to kind of angle down into the pipe. And that was something I had fought with for a while, and the trick was surprisingly simple. So the way to do like this rolled T is you go into your Manage, MEP settings, go to Slopes, and make a slope. I'll just delete it really quick for the sake of making it again. Just type 12. Oops. Sounds like somebody else is done, which is stressing me out. The slope is 12 over 12. That's a 45-degree angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out of here, off my fixture, and maybe I'll come down at like negative. I'll do -6 just for the sake of being higher than my main. And then I'll get close to the main, but I don't make the final connection. What I'll do at that point is do another pipe, change my slope to be 12 over 12, hit the main, come off the main, and now I've got a rolled T. And if I turn this into a fine detail level, it'll look a little better. Oops, I think I rolled the wrong way. I think I did slope down by accident. My bad. So let's do another one. It should have been slope up. That seems right. Oh, I don't think I was inheriting the elevation is what I was missing. So there I've got a rolled T, and if I turn it to fine detail level, you'll see the rolled T. And then you just have to fillet them together or trim and extend to corner. When you do the trim and extend to corner, pick pretty close to that T because you don't know how long that branch is going to be. So when you use trim and extend to corner or like fillet, in the CAD days, you would pick the part you wanted to keep. And it's the same thing here. But if I pick up here and that's higher than my pipe I'm connecting into, it's going to connect the wrong way. It's going to do like a 135-degree elbow. So click pretty far back to your T. Click on your branch that you were just doing. I must be too close to it. Let me see. It's fine. Let me just see how close I was to it. Where am I? Oh, holy moly. Well, that's not a great example. I must have done -6 feet, and I'm sloping the wrong way, which also doesn't help. All right, let's kill that really quick and do it the right way. I know I'm out of time, but All right, one last try, and then this was like kind of like a shocker moment, so it's worth showing, at least for a client I was working with. All right, slope down this time. That's what I was missing. -6 inches. And what's that? Oh man, I can't do anything right. I should have just done a PowerPoint. All right, inherent elevation, 1/8 inch to a foot, slope down. I don't need inherent elevation actually. And then -6 inches, not feet. And we'll see how this goes. I know I missed. All right, let's align the two just because I misclicked. And then we'll do trim and extend a corner, and hopefully this works. There we go, easy enough. So these are real life fittings. So the workaround in the past before I knew this was we would get close to the main, and then we would angle over to it, and then we would have the ignore slope to connect wherever that button is. But that's not using real life fittings. So it's fine for design, but when somebody tries to take your model, since they introduced the fabrication parts into Revit and the importing and exporting with Fab MEP, you're going to see contractors trying to use your model, and if you're not doing this stuff right, they're going to be unhappy with you because they have to remodel everything you did. But this was the trick to do the rolled T, and if I cut a section, we'll see it this time. And yeah, these are combination T's, and I actually maybe use the T that doesn't exist. Yeah, it's a combination T. So over here in this one, it's rolled up. That's all. So it looks a little different. Yeah, and that's not really a good size to use either, because I think I went from like a 6 to a 2 or something. I think, which may not exist. Yeah. Yeah. So and that was another thing to say is if you go into your MEP settings, mechanical settings, it uses International Plumbing Code 2012. One caveat to that is if you're doing domestic water, take an extra second, you may need 2 domestic water systems. So if let's see if I can change this to domestic water. I know I'm out of time too, so I'm gonna try to be fast. Yeah. Is it 3:45 we're out of here? Which is like now? Okay. So when you do domestic cold water, you're gonna wanna have 2 plumbing systems, because when you go to edit the system type for domestic cold water, there's an option here for flush tanks or flush valves. That changes how it calculates. So if you're doing cold water and it's not sizing correctly to match your table, which I have on the next slide. Oops, we'll skip that. So if it's not matching your table here for flush valves, you probably don't have that set correctly. But that's another thing where you're going to have to teach users, hey, you're not just using cold water, you got to use the cold water with flush valves, because they might not use the right system. But I mean, once it's set, it should just keep going with that system. All right, so we're mostly out of time. There were a lot of other things I was going to talk about, but any last minute questions? I think I have the PowerPoint upload on the website, and I recorded this, and